Good evening. Today is Tuesday, February 19, 2019. This is the opening of the Hanson Board of Selectmen meeting. This meeting is being televised by Whitman Hanson Cable Access. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening, Hanson. Bear with me. We got a couple of pages worth of announcements. Open burning season began on January 15th and will run through April 30th. Permits are available at the fire headquarters, 505 Liberty Street, daily from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. The cost of a permit is $20, payable by check or money order made out to the town of Hanson. No cash will be accepted. Nomination papers for the May 18th town election are now available at the town clerk's office. The last day to obtain nomination papers is Monday, March 25th. Nomination papers must be returned to the town clerk's office by 5 p.m. on Friday, March 29th. A minimum of 50 certified signatures of registered voters are necessary for a candidate's name to appear on the town ballot. The following positions are available: moderator for one-year term, selectman for a 3-year term, assessor for a 3-year term, town clerk for a 3-year term, board of health for a 3-year term, cemetery commissioner for a 3-year term, planning board for a 5-year term, Hanson Housing Authority for a 5-year term, another Hanson Housing Authority for a 4-year term, tree warden for a 3-year term, 2 trustees of public library for a 3-year term, 2 Whitman Hanson Regional School District Committee pre-K through 12 for a 3-year term, 2 water commissioners for a 3-year term. For more information, contact the town clerk's office at 781-293-2772. The town clerk urges all voters and residents who have not returned their 2019 census form to do so as soon as possible. Any voter who has not returned their 2019 town census form will be placed on the inactive voter list for future election. The Hanson Public Library has teamed up with the Boston Bruins to participate in the annual pajama drive to benefit the DCF kids and Cradles to Crayons. The Boston Bruins PJ Drive will run from February 1st through March 15th, 2019. The library will be collecting new pairs of pajamas for babies, children, and teens. The Hanson Key Club will be holding their first annual prom fair at the Whitman Hanson Regional High School Library on Tuesday, February 26, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. There will be a dress swap. Prom tickets will be available for purchase. Local vendors will be on hand. All proceeds will be made to the American Cancer Society. For more information, contact the event chair, Alicia Etkin, by phone at 781-618-8749. The Whitman Hanson Dollars for Scholars 12th Annual Taste of Whitman Hanson will be on Thursday, March 7th at the VFW Post 697 in Whitman from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Up to 24 local restaurants and food service providers will be offering samples from their menu. Tickets are $15 per person in advance and $20 at the door, with limited capacity. Tickets are available at Duval Pharmacies, Ford Insurance, Sandy's Coffee Corner, Town Clerk's Office, and Whitman Hanson. Town Clerk's Office in both Whitman and Hanson. All proceeds for the evening will benefit the Dollars for Scholars. More information, please contact Mike Ginchert at 781-252-9683. On March 16th, the Hanson Business Network will be holding its 3rd annual St. Patrick's fundraiser to benefit the the Hanson Food Pantry from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. at the Needles Lodge at Camp Kiwanee. This event will be a St. Patrick's themed shindig, complete dinner with Irish live music, DJ'd Irish music, Irish step dancing performance, cash bar, and a silent auction, and also a St. Patrick Day photo booth. Tickets are a bargain at $25 per person and may be purchased on Eventbrite or by contacting Laura Kemet at 781-294-1261. Discounts are available for folks who purchase 8 or more tickets. Please visit the Hanson Business Network Facebook page for more information. If you can't attend but wish to donate an item for a silent auction or raffle, it would be deeply appreciated. Volunteers are needed on the following committee: the 200th Anniversary, Capital Improvement, Cultural Council, Economic Development, Elder Affairs, Finance, Historic Commission, Memorial Day Patriot Observance, Memorial Field Trustees, Recreation, Zoning Board Alternate. Applications for appointment and information on these committees are available on the town websites at hanson-ma.gov. Vacancies are on the elected following boards: Board of Health, Board of Library Trustees, and 1 member of the Hanson Housing Authority. Applications for appointment and information on the committees is available on the town website, hanson-ma.gov. Here are some of the upcoming meetings. McQuon Reuse Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, February 20th at 6 p.m. Capital Improvement will be meeting on Tuesday, February 26th at 7 p.m. Selectmen will be also meeting on February 26th at 7 p.m. The 200th Anniversary will be meeting on Thursday, February 28th at 7 p.m. And Selectmen will be meeting on March 12th and March 26th, both at 7 p.m.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, first on the new business, excuse me, swearing in firefighter Thomas White. Chief Thompson, just before we start, I'd like to thank you, Deputy Fire Chief Rob O'Brien, Lieutenant Sherry Mullen and her staff, all the Hanson firefighters and mutual aid partners for working tirelessly fighting that fire on Milford Street last week. I happened to be a couple of streets over when the fire started, and it was just impressive seeing you guys. You know, the conditions weren't favorable. It was the middle of a storm. I know you guys had issues getting water at times, you know, but it was just nice, you know, seeing the leadership, the professionalism, and just the teamwork. So you guys should be proud of yourself. So thank you very much. That being said, take it away. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that.
Sure, we just elaborate a little bit. So you're aware we had the fire, you know, just a job well done by the department. Obviously the weather played into some stuff, and upon arrival we had heavy fire, and at the end of it, being able to extinguish the fire with no injuries and have minimal damage to the exposures is huge. I mean, those houses are close together, so yeah, just a job well done. Good job, guys. I also would take this opportunity to thank our other departments that assisted us, the highway, the police, and the water. Their assistance that night was invaluable. I've always said, ever since I got a job in town on the water department several years ago, it's so nice to live and work in a town where the departments get along so well and work together, and I just publicly want to thank them for the help that night. It was great. And now we'll get to TJ. So, thanks for having us here. We're going to swear in our newest member, Thomas White. Who's TJ? Selectman Hickey's like, is that TJ? It is. TJ is a lifelong resident of Hanson, and he graduated from Whitman Hanson in 2008. He's currently a member of the United States Army Reserve as a firefighter, and over the past 6 years, he's been on active duty several times. So, TJ, I want to thank you for your service. Way back in June of 2015, he applied to become a call firefighter and was accepted. And he was a call firefighter for 3 years before being a conditional offer of employment back in January of 18. That position that he filled became vacant when we promoted a deputy chief and a lieutenant, so he was filling in that spot. He had a busy 2018. When he was hired, he was still a basic EMT, so as a conditional offer, he had to become a paramedic, which complete his schooling and pass the national exams. Which he did successfully. He also had to attend recruit training at the Massachusetts Firefighter Academy, and he graduated as a member of Class 269 back in December, and he also had to complete his probationary period, which was just in January. So he had a long 2018. He's been a great addition to our department. Some of the skills that he was able to obtain and still obtain in the Army helps us out greatly, and he's just been another great member to our department. So before we bring him up, does the board have any questions?
You look so young.
Okay, so if Ms. will come up and swear him in.
Me, Thomas White, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge upon all the duties incumbent upon you as firefighter to the best of your abilities in accordance with the bylaws of the town and the laws of the Commonwealth.
I will.
Congratulations.
And TJ's gonna have his badge pinned on by his mother, Sue. Thank you guys for having us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. You guys can go, you don't have to stay. It sounded good, but.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care.
No. Easy in and out.
Have a good night.
We cleared the room, Kenny.
Yep. We should make the other people wait a little bit.
Actually, no, I'll move some stuff around so that people don't have to wait here. Okay. Next we have, let's jump around a little bit. 200th Anniversary Committee. James Flanagan, 43 Baker Street, term to expire 12/31/20. And Audrey Flanagan, 43 Baker Street, term to expire 12/31/2020. That is item 4 on your iPads. How you guys doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good.
I move to appoint both Audrey and Jim to the 200th Anniversary Committee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions?
You know what you're getting
Thank you,
into.
guys.
No, it's actually a fun group. Matt and I are both on it, and it's a good group. And but we need more people. So we've got
Yeah.
subcommittees. We have lots of ideas, and we're thrilled to have people that have actually been laboring oars.
And that's good with both these. If one can't make it, then you get the other one to bounce off, so at least one would be able to make it. So thank you guys very much. Any more questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this a committee that we have to be sworn in with Beth, or is this?
Yes,
Okay.
you do.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So our next meeting is next.
Thursday.
Exactly. Yeah, it's the last Thursday of every month.
Okay, and where is it?
It's right in the very, very exclusive break room there. And we're gonna have to probably find a different room because we're starting to bust out at the seams there.
So why don't you use the Selectmen's Meeting room? Somebody else meet that night?
I think I don't really know why. You'd have to ask Marcus, but I think it's because this isn't particularly conducive to like a boardroom type meeting. It's more of a like selectmen's meeting. Maybe we'll
Feel
move
free
upstairs.
to move the chairs.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll shake it up, Mary. We'll take that under advisement.
Okay, next appointment, School Repair Committee, Mariah McClellan, 472C Indian Head Street, term to expire 6/30/2019. Mrs. McClellan, how are you, dear? Good.
Nice to see you again.
What is going on with this committee? Because I haven't heard anything from them, and I didn't know if they were meeting. I didn't know if they still existed. I'm a little unclear.
I believe they're trying to start back up.
Okay.
And start meeting again.
Okay.
So I'm just asking, why are we appointing her right now to expire in, what, 4 months?
Because it's a term that someone had already left. So we fill the terms, she'll be reappointed in June. I just gotta fill the vacancies
Gotcha.
because I'll get too confused if I don't do it that way.
And so do we have a full contingency on that committee now? And who is the chair? And
Oh my God, what's his name?
It rather sounds like Bill
Bill
Garvey
Galvin.
oh, Bill
is the
Garvey.
chair.
Okay, yes,
Garvey.
thank you.
I got it.
Bill Garvey, I believe,
Garvey,
has
yeah.
come in and
Yep,
asked
okay,
to.
Bill is the chair.
I'm not sure if they've actually met so he could be voted as chair, so the
Well, he
committee
was
needs
the
to.
chair the last
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
I got an email from Bill wanting our support to get it back up and running and get it going.
he's reached out to the last set of members, and he's trying to gauge who wants to continue on with it and who doesn't, so that he can reconstitute it. So he's in the middle of doing that.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm looking for a motion to appoint Mariah.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks for stepping up.
We might be
Okay,
able to
next,
get some
under, excuse me, new business. Review and comment on the housing production plan. That's item 2-2A on your iPads.
Skip the recreation thing. Or is he just gonna
Mike, you wanna
table it verbally?
help us with this one?
Basically, the Housing Authority was just looking to see whether or not the Board of Selectmen, has any comments, has anything that they'd like to forward to this particular committee. My understanding is the next step would be a public hearing in which hopefully, if you do have any comments, and if you don't, that's fine as well. But if you do, they'll look at them, incorporate your comments as appropriate, and then there'll be a follow-up public hearing, which we would envision being a joint public hearing with the planning board. They've been asked for their comments just as you have, at which time the two boards would jointly endorse the plan, and the plan would then be forwarded by the Housing Authority to the state, to the Department of Housing for a formal acceptance by the state. So, like I said, if you want to discuss it, you don't necessarily have to. If you have any comments individually, you can send them to me and I can forward them on. But again, the Housing Committee just wanted to make sure, because it's part of the process, that the Board of Selectmen has an opportunity to take a look and comment. But there will be at least one other meeting at which you will formally endorse in a sense, and
I
that'll
did
be on the
have
state.
one, I mean, it was excellent. They clearly borrowed quite liberally from other master plans, CPC plans, some other work that had been done. There was verbiage that was quite familiar. But one of the recommendations, and it's buried in here somewhere, but it was sort of like on properties that we could use to have housing. There seems to be an assumption that the town owns the East Washington Street property, which we do not. That is privately owned.
Yeah. The old school you're talking about?
Yeah, the old school. So I just thought they want to tweak that for accuracy because we do not own it. It's right towards the very end. I don't recall the exact page, but I'll send a note to Teresa if you'd like.
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's like page 43 or something,
On
somewhere in
2A.
there.
Yeah, it's mentioned a
43,
couple times.
42.
So if whoever has questions, just email them directly to Mike.
Or comments, or and again, you don't necessarily need to have any, but what I guess I would ask, if you could get them to me, I guess, before the next meeting, just so they can move along with what they need to do.
Well, and I do applaud them. I'm thrilled that they did this. It's always good to have a vision and like a blueprint that they're working from, so that, we're not just kind of making this up as we go along. I'm wondering, is it possible for us to get a brief presentation? Could somebody distill this for us?
Like an executive summary, or to have somebody come and sit
Somebody
before?
come and, like Teresa or somebody, and just say, here's the bottom line.
Well,
Here's what
I-
we're getting out of this.
Well, I think what we could probably do is we could have that sort of a presentation in with the public hearing, with the planning board.
Okay.
And she can give a summation prior to you guys actually moving on it and the planning board moving on it.
Okay, great. Thank
That
you.
works. Okay, next up, new business, accept January donations. Item 3. Okay, the first one is Robert and Kathleen Willett, $25 to Elders Affairs. Dr. Thomas DeCosta, $50, Elder Affairs. Norman Sarveggio, $25, Elder Affairs. Robert and Francis Mahoney, $50, Elder Affairs. Jane Johnson and Olivia Nevergut, $25, Elder Affairs. David and Susan Andrews, $50, Elder Affairs. Alan and Joanne Clemens, $25, Elder Affairs. South Shore Veterans Assistance, $100, Elder Affairs. Jeffrey and Mary Gillis, $25, Elder Affairs. Margaret Wilson, $20, Elder Affairs. Douglas and Dreen Birmingham, $50, Elder Affairs. Joseph and Elizabeth Tamaru, $30, Elder Affairs. And Elizabeth Berry, $25, Elder Affairs.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, did I miss the review and vote on recreation rate increases?
That we're gonna table to next week. The chairman of Recreation requested, she couldn't be here tonight, so she requested if she could get it out on the agenda for the next meeting.
Super, thank you.
No problem. Okay, next is vote to award the bid on 0 Liberty Street. I think you guys got an email, we all got an email last week regarding that property, and the TA is suggesting to us that we don't accept these bids, along with the assessor's office, and after reviewing it, I agree with them. So, do we need to take a
No.
vote on this?
No, I'm recommending no action.
What's the next move like? Do we put it back out there?
I'm gonna probably give it another 6 months and put it back out. It's obviously a piece of land we would like to, sell, but we'd like to sell it for a price that's, appropriate.
Right.
I'll probably give it another 6 months or so, put it back out there, see if, there's more interest, or see if the people that had some interest are able to maybe up their bids.
I think if you do that, it'll be July, so I think the weather would benefit that. But I don't believe we need to give it away. It's a commercial piece
No.
of property.
Yeah.
That's worth money.
It wasn't
and-
getting us anything to begin with. I'd like,
Right.
if we've already waited this long, let's
That's
get the right
correct.
price for it.
So, I do
Yeah.
agree with that. So does anybody else have any questions?
Can I ask what the property is worth?
It's been assessed between 130 and 150.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's the acreage on that?
It's
Mike?
just under an acre, just a shade under an acre, and it's
And
commercially
it's
zoned.
assessed at that because it's commercial, right?
Yes,
Okay, and it is a good location.
I'm not saying we'll get that, but
No.
certainly the
No,
offers
and
we got.
I wasn't
Yes.
necessarily
Oh.
looking for that, but
You know.
I was looking for something that would have been more than we got, so.
I was
We
trying
need
to-
something a little more good faith, a little,
Absolutely.
Yes.
closer to what we, yeah.
So, okay. Appointments. Okay, requests. We have some requests for Camp Quaney. The first one is the Rockland Lions Club requests a waiver of setup fee for 4/6/2019. That's 5 and 5A.
Can-
iPads.
I know we're not talking about the fees, the Camp Quaney fees, but just, as a preliminary matter, I had a quick convo today with Matt about this. When I saw all of these requests for waivers, let me go on the record as saying I fully support 501c3s. I'm on the board of several myself. I think they do good work, awesome stuff. But I think our current protocol that the selectmen, I believe it was actually the prior board, but gave the Recreation Commission was that they could waive fees for 501c3s. And I think maybe we need to revisit that or take a slightly different approach to it, because I think what's important is, yes, we want to be supportive of 501c3s and all of that, but at the end of the day, that property is paid for by the taxpayers, by Hanson taxpayers. So when the Recreation Commission is taking a look at who we're going to waive the fees for, I think that as a very preliminary matter, the question needs to be asked, if we waive this fee, how does it benefit the citizens of Hanson? How are they benefiting from this fee being waived? Because, put a different way, why would the town subsidize every 501c3 that's going in there? Because if we're not covering our costs for caretakers and even just utilities and some other things, I just question how sustainable that is on a long-term basis. Again, I'm not saying, that we're going to try to fleece 501c3s or anything like that, but I am saying there needs to be some additional measures, I think, taken. So maybe the question is it a 501c3 that directly impacts and benefits the citizens of Hanson? And what really kind of caused, like Rockland Lions Club, you could probably argue that was, but we've got some other, like the Hobbamock Elementary PTO. Again, I'm a big supporter of PTOs. I have no issue with that. But Hobbamock is not Hanson. That is Pembroke. And so I wanted to mention this before we get into this discussion, because I think that it's important. I know fundamentally that Camp Kiwanee isn't an endeavor that's necessarily money-making, purely money-making, but we've got to balance out the requests for waivers versus making money so that it's there to benefit the citizens of Hanson for those things like the Halloween extravaganza and the things like that like are going to be for the citizens of Hanson. So I really didn't need to get on such a soapbox, but I just kind of wanted to just put it out there that I'm a little bit concerned. And one of the things I guess I'm concerned about, and perhaps we need to give feedback to the Recreation Commission on this, and they're probably just following the procedure that they have in front of them, is that I would like to see them vetting these just a little bit more rigorously and saying, you know what, we got a request from these guys to waive the fee, but just so you know, we don't think we should because it's not benefiting the citizens of Hanson, or whatever the case may be.
I think what I can do, if the board so desires, is I'll take a look at whatever chapter, book, and verse of the policy that I put together and make a recommendation for the Rec Commission to take a look at and perhaps adopt. A couple of these are actually reduction in security deposits, so we're not necessarily losing money on that.
Yes.
We don't necessarily
And I believe one of them also is they're dedicating or they're donating the proceeds back to the camp.
They
So-
are, yeah.
So,
Pembroke
but
Chamber of Commerce is,
but
yep.
but not all that notwithstanding, I understand what you're saying, and I think that I can take a look at what was written and put some sort of extra, I don't want to say stipulation, but or requirement, but another part of the thought process.
And again, I don't
put it
want
in the
this,
policy.
I don't want anybody to misread what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
This is absolutely not a reflection on the Recreation Commission. This is more that I think they're following a protocol that we set forth that wasn't particularly thoughtful about these scenarios.
I agree with Laura. I think that the criteria just needs to be tweaked a little.
Yeah.
Like a couple of these with the security deposit, there's one here it's from 1,000 to 500. That's not a big deal. We're not giving up the rental fee, So that's,
Right.
go ahead, Matt.
So just as a liaison from the Recreation Committee, I've been advising the Recreation Committee to start to think about a business plan where it makes, where they can start saying, okay, we can waive the fee, but we need to make sure we cover our costs, like Laura was saying, with the, the heat and the cooling and the electricity and whatnot. So I told them that they should really just make sure that they cover the bases, make sure that they can pay their caretakers and charge that as the bare minimum, kind of get rid of this give the camp away for free idea.
Right.
And then also too, one thing that we discussed at the last meeting was kind of changing the security deposit on just a regular function like a wedding shower or a birthday, just something small. Kind of reducing that $1,000 security deposit down to $500, because $1,000 is a kind of a scary number to say.
It is
For a birthday party,
For a
yeah.
school and a church,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
just coming up
So even though they don't cash the check or anything like that unless there was damage, but so we're going to reduce that, and I think that'll be coming before us in a couple of
Like the
weeks.
Hanson Historical, that, we should waive that.
Right.
Right, because
That's
that
a- that's a-
benefits the
that's a
citizens
town-
of
right.
Hanson. Yeah.
So don't have a problem
Yeah.
with that, but good. So you guys are working on it and you're aware of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the first one, Rockland Lions Club. I need a motion they're looking to request a setup fee.
Well, I had a question on that, Matt. Is the kitchen in sufficient working condition right now for them to be? I know that there's some improvements that need to be made there, and I wasn't sure. I know their event isn't until April 6th, but I wasn't sure. Like, I thought there were some issues perhaps with the stove.
So with the stove, they want, it's a little antiquated, the stove, and, people just have to make sure that they're mindful of how they light the pilot and all that stuff.
Okay.
But it's not a public safety issue.
It's working, it's just a little funky.
Right, it's just antiquated.
Okay,
So,
all right.
the caretakers should be on staff and be able to help them out.
Okay.
So does anybody have any more questions? If
Are we
not,
doing this
I'm-
one by one, Mr. Mitchell, or just?
Well, I can do them all together, but does anybody else have any questions on them? I want to make sure I give everybody a fair opportunity to comment on anything that they.
No, I think as all these requests for waivers stand, we're gonna accept them all, so I think he could do them all
all
at
together.
once. But we're gonna have Mike look further into it for the future.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, they're dealing, I mean, in good faith, they've taken what we told them as the policy, and, but you're right, going forward, you know.
I just wanna make sure I understood you, Laura, from earlier when you say the 501.
A nonprofit, a legitimate nonprofit.
But are we gonna decide which ones we accept?
No,
or
I'm
we're
not
gonna
saying that,
accept them
I'm
all?
saying, well, what my suggestion, and of course it's up to the whole board, I'm just one person. But my suggestion is that as a preliminary matter, we say, how does this 501c3 benefit the town of Hanson? For instance, if we're talking about Rotary, we know that that benefits them. If we're talking about American Red Cross, of course, it benefits more than Hanson, but it does benefit Hanson. If we're talking about the Hanson PTO or Panther Education Trust or the Hanson Food Pantry, these are just the ones off of the top of my head that I know of. I'm sure there's many, many more. But, you know, to the extent, you know, the churches, I think one could argue that they're benefiting the, you know, people, as long as it's a Hanson church, that they're benefiting the people in Hanson. But when really the one that kind of got me thinking was that Hobbamock PTO, and I went, I mean, you know, great cause, I totally support PTO, but it's Pembroke,
Yeah,
you know?
that's
and-
what I looked at too.
Yeah, so, I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Okay, so we'll tie these all in one, so I'm looking for a motion to request a waiver on, as printed.
I also moved.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any more questions? All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, thanks, guys. Okay, next, old business. Approve and vote the senior center counseling proposal. That's item 6 on your iPads. Mike, you want to speak?
Just briefly, I believe that I gave the board at the last meeting the proposal. I have received a contract that encapsulates that proposal, and I had mentioned that I was interested in having the Board of Selectmen vote to allow me to actually sign that.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion.
To allow me to
Enter into a contract.
execute the contract, yeah.
To do the study and all of this.
Yes,
As outlined here in the brief description on the cover page.
yes.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Dyer. Any questions? I read through this today. Yeah, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, Mike, you know me with the money. Did we have a figure on this?
35.
That's
It
what
was
I-
35,
okay.
and didn't we already?
We
approved?
did, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
couldn't remember.
Yeah, and I think it's great because it will help us figure out what they need, and then, you know, it's similar to the housing plan, and, you know, as Matt suggested with the recreation guys, I think the more we can get a vision for each little group, the better off we're gonna be.
Right, and we split it up, it's 15,000, and then the balance on completion
Yeah.
September or December of 2019.
And they're planning on doing
Brainstorming
brainstorming,
session.
yes.
similar to what
Yeah.
we did for CPC and the Plymouth County Hospital.
And the Hanson
Yep,
housing
yep,
plan.
I just think it'll all tie in together with, because I keep thinking of what Wes said a couple weeks ago with the 40% of the population being over 50.
yes, yep.
That it seems like this is all gonna tie in
That was
together.
very
Yes.
impressive information.
Well,
you
that
gave us.
housing production plan really pointed that out.
Well, we're now
Yeah.
just all
Yeah.
gonna start coasting on Matthew Dyer's shoulders. It's like, all right, Matt, you need, and Stewie,
Keep working, you guys
keep
have to
working.
keep
You guys are
working.
supporting all us over 50s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Judy, you're not
And there's
here
a
yet
few of
either,
us.
so-
All right, anybody have any more questions?
No.
All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, next we have signed the highway contract. So this contract was given to us a few weeks ago, but we were waiting for Mike to give us the final blessing on when we needed to sign the CBA, the collective and bargaining agreement, and the contract is complete and it's ready for our signature. So we need a motion to sign the CBA
So moved.
Second.
for the highway department. Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor? 5-0.
Kenny, I'm wondering what Judy is here for?
Hi.
No, I thought you had questions about, I was just here to answer any questions.
Oh, about the recreation stuff?
Yes, the chamber stuff.
Oh, the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce.
We're hosting the bunny breakfast. I didn't know if we got approval for that. I just wanted to make sure I was here to hear. It appears that it's.
Is it the Pembroke Chamber?
It's Pembroke Chamber?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's hosting it on.
Yes, so
4742.
we already approved the request for the waiver of the rental for 4/7/2019.
Okay, and we spoke to the police as well. We do not need a police detail. Is that something that you needed me to share?
No,
with you?
I would contact the Recreation Department with any questions.
Okay, gotcha.
Or Chief Mix directly, you know, yeah. We don't impose those types of requirements. That's really under his, you
Yeah.
know, guidance.
In
But-
Pembroke Chamber, I wouldn't think you would need a police detail. I mean,
Well, for the, I
depends
don't
how
know,
good
things
the
could
party's
get
gonna
busy
be, too.
with the bunny and Easter hunt, egg hunt, you don't know.
Right.
But that's fun
So,
that you guys are bringing
Laura's
that. Yeah.
right. Maybe it'd probably be easier to send the chief an email.
We did.
Okay.
You said it was fine.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're all set. So I apologize. I would have recognized you when we were talking about that. We're not used to having spectators at our meetings.
But you know what, thank you for bringing that event.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's gonna be fun, and thank you for you guys donating the money to Camp Kawani. That's awesome,
Yeah,
and,
that is.
yeah.
Good. Thank you. Okay, next we have the town administrator report. Mr. McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to report that the sale, although I think I've already informed the selectmen individually, that the sale of JJ's went through and that all taxes were brought up to current. They have, the building department has issued a demo permit, and the new owner has engaged a company to clean up the hazmats, and they've filed the necessary filings with the DEP. And as I think I had mentioned when we last discussed this, that the new owner's intention is to have that taken care of within 2 weeks of the closing. So the closing was, I believe it was on the 13th, so we would probably be looking at hopefully by the end of the first week in March, that being cleaned up. So done at no expense to the town, no exposure to the town, and the new owner has been very very cooperative and forthcoming, and has come through on everything he's told me he would.
Has he given you any indication what he's going to do with that property? Is he going to build something? Is he going to sell it?
He's going to build something, I believe.
Okay.
He's still kind of back and forth on what that would be, but
Well, Facebook's got it all on lockdown, so. They've already decided what he's
Okay.
doing with that property, so.
I'll make sure he refers back to all of that. So, we're going to have a meeting. I'm going to have a meeting on Friday with Chris Collins and a individual from National Grid to discuss a potential alternative to outright purchase of the streetlights. I can't really say what the particulars are yet because Chris couldn't necessarily describe them to me, but I may be coming before the Board of Selectmen fairly soon with maybe an alternative. I think one way or the other, we move forward as we've discussed in terms of taking some sort of control over the streetlights, and again, the purpose for that is cost savings to us. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this potential other option would relieve us of any maintenance obligations. So I'll report that out to the board at the next meeting. In addition to that, if we do go forward with the outright purchase, I did file for a grant. Again, I may have mentioned this was out there, a grant with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, which technically we don't belong to, but the grant is open to anyone in the state for assistance in going through the retrofit. They won't pay for the purchase, the outright purchase, but they will help us to put the new equipment in and do the retrofitting. So that deadline was last week, and I put in for that. So I'll let you know how that goes, because I think I was told that we should probably know if we are eligible for that, if we're accepted by the end of this month. The Green Communities grant, we believe that that application is going to be able to go forward by the end of this week. There were one or two things that we were looking at that we wanted to try to put on that particular grant that in the end really didn't fit in with what the state was looking for. So we've added a couple of different things. We should have something to the Energy Committee because if the board remembers, the board wanted to make sure that there was support from the Energy Committee before moving it forward to the state. So as I had said as well, I believe it was the 8th of February was sort of a soft close, a soft deadline. The state is okay with the fact that we didn't meet the 8th. We tried to, but again, there were a few things on there that they didn't necessarily in their opinion fall within the purview of why we were given the money. So that continues to move forward. I'm hoping that as soon as the Energy Committee can meet and give its blessing, the application should be ready to go forward and we should be all set. We got an email actually today from State 911 to sit and have a conversation about what the costs would be and what they would be willing to give to us. They were shooting to try to do that by the end of this week, but again, they just told us that today, and not enough people were able to coordinate. So we're going to be seeing them probably the first week of March, and obviously that information will be back before the Board of Selectmen, and we'll have a follow-on conversation about that moving forward.
So who will be part of that conversation?
It should be myself and the two chiefs at this
All right,
point.
that's what I thought,
Yeah.
yeah.
The board may or may not be aware of the fact that we posted the recreation director position a week or so, or 2 weeks ago. The deadline for applications is the 1st of March. The way I propose going forward and this is the way we've done it in the past, in terms of interviewing applicants, is that a member of the board, and I believe it should be Selectman Dyer since he's the liaison to the Rec Commission, myself and one, if not two members of the Recreation Commission will go through the interview process. And as the board is aware, it's actually the Recreation Commission that would appoint or hire the person, but of course all that will come back to the Board of Selectmen in terms of letting them know how things go forward. So we're moving forward on that.
I'm sorry, Mike, and that's final? I mean, it hasn't worked out the last 2 times that the Recreation Commission has hired someone to do that job. So I'm a little leery of 1 or 2 members of the commission going through the interview process to hire a 3rd person. But it sounds like that's going to be the way it is.
Well, the way it's constituted right now is that the position does fall under the Rec Commission, and it's the Rec Commission's purview to move forward with something like that.
Okay.
I don't want to speak for the Rec Commission, but I would imagine that they would not necessarily turn a blind eye to input from the Board of Selectmen. I mean, if there's something you have a concern that you want to bring to me, or I can bring to them, or Matt can, yeah, certainly.
But they're working through you though, Mike.
Yes.
Right?
They're working through you, with you, but
Right.
but I think to Jim's point, what have we changed up so that we're not falling into this trap again? Is the job description been tightened up, or have we got a better support system, onboarding? I'm just like, how do we set this person up for success and make sure, first of all, that we're picking the absolute right person and that we're setting them up for success?
Well, there's going to be more, and I don't want to say this didn't necessarily take place in the past, but there's going to be more of a discussion with the individuals, and in particular the individual that we may come to a consensus on, to give them an idea of where the shortcomings may have been in the past, and where the strengths really need to be that may not have been there in the past. Yeah. So I think I hate to say that we've learned through things that didn't work out, but sometimes that's the way you learn. Again, there could very well be a situation in which we're not comfortable with any of the applicants, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But I don't think that, and certainly Matt can chime in, but I don't think that we feel the necessity just to fill the position to fill the position. Right. So if we don't find somebody with the strengths that we think may have not been there in the past, then we go back to the drawing board.
So just to kind of give a little bit of insight, the Recreation Committee kind of talked about the process that they hope to go about. In the past, it was only 1 or 2 members on that committee that saw all the applicants, and then they brought the final two or three candidates to the whole board. So this time around, they all decided and they all agreed that it would be appropriate for everyone on the committee to see all the resumes right off the bat. So that's something that's going to kind of change. I think, too, I know I've been talking to Diane and the committee and Mike saying that we need to really make a business plan up there. I don't think it necessarily should be a finalized plan, but I think we really need to define the hierarchy of what Camp Kiwanee is, who's reporting to who's responsible for what, and I think that is going to really help the next person, as well as making sure the goals are crystal clear right from the beginning.
Yes.
And saying, we hope that this person focuses on recreation 80% of the time, 10% they're going to be administrative, kind of learn the role, learn what Lon's doing, learn what the caretakers are doing, and I think that's going to set up the candidate for success. And that's just my opinion that what needs to happen.
Now he's put better words to what I was basically saying.
I really like where you're going with that, Matt, because I think part of the issue has been a lack, and this is, again, nothing to do with the Recreation Commission, because I think they're all fine people doing the absolute best they can and doing a good job. But in a way, the selectmen haven't had a clear vision for the Recreation Commission on here's what we're looking for, here's what we're hoping for Camp Kiwanee to be. And so therefore, the person stepping into that job is sort of, you know, what am I doing? What is my priority? And it was sort of shifting sands. And I think depending upon who they spoke to within the Recreation Commission, they might, and even within the Board of Selectmen, they might have gotten some slightly different answers. And so I like your idea of the business plan, because I think it removes a lot of the, you know, need for somebody to interpret or figure it out for themselves. It's like, I'm looking at the business plan, and it's very clear to me that based on the business plan, this is my priority, this is my second part, you know what I mean? But I don't know if that actually answers your question,
I think
Jim.
having, excuse me, Matt as a liaison over there is huge.
Yes.
Because it's going to help with the communication between the rec commission and the selectmen.
It already has.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think that's the first step.
And I think another thing to point out too, and it goes back to some things that you know, Selectman Dyer and Selectman Blas, I think the whole board has talked about, and I have talked about, is the long-term goal, which is, I think, eventually for this particular individual to oversee recreation throughout the community, as opposed to just at the camp. So, and that will be made clear as well. So.
And so I think to that end, and this is something Matt and I had talked about, is it possible for us to think about, and I'm not saying immediately, but fairly soon, again, like a visioning session for recreation.
Yeah, and you've mentioned it, and I think that we do need to have that.
And I think it's one of our goals, too,
Yes.
that we had kind of set out.
Yes.
So it seems to me like if we're going to hire somebody, it would be better to do that sooner rather than later, and say to them, oh, sorry, the last 6 months, you know, we didn't have that vision. You've been marching to a different drummer, and we were thinking we were going to go this way. So I think that's something that we should give some consideration to. But I do appreciate everything Matt's doing. I think it has already opened up a lot of dialogue and insight, I think, yeah.
Good. What's next, Mike?
What's next? The next meeting, I'm going to ask a representative from FXM Associates to come in. That is the company that we have engaged to do an economic development master plan, as it were. He's going to, well, he wants to get input from the Board of Selectmen. He wants to explain some of the things that he would be looking to do, just so the Board of Selectmen has some input if it wishes, and that he gets some guidance just to move forward on that. There'll be an awful lot more to do with it other than just meeting with this board. But I want to kick that off beginning next week. And the only other thing I wanted to mention, something kind of peculiar, and Mary's probably going to have to help me pronounce this because I never pronounce this word correctly. There is a Mass General Law that every 5 years the Board of Selectmen or representatives of the Board of Selectmen are to perambulate. Preambulate.
What is it? Pronounce it again?
Preambulate.
Per, isn't it?
Per, yeah, per.
And the definition
Perambulate.
We take a walk.
That's what it sounds like.
Around the perimeter of the town from landmark to landmark to landmark to landmark.
Really?
Well, technically, you don't need to do that. Technically, what the law says is you need to identify the boundary mark. You don't need to walk the boundaries.
Perimeter.
It's something, again, that technically should be done every 5 years.
For every town-owned property or just town hall?
No, the boundaries.
Town,
The boundaries. So between us
Basically
and...
to make sure nobody's moved the boundaries.
Exactly, between us
Oh, I
and
see.
Hanover, and between us and East
okay.
Bridgewater and Whitman and so on
I'll
and so
take the one
forth.
up at Whitman.
So, what,
Sorry, Wes.
and in all honesty, it's very rarely done. I actually, when I was in another town, we talked about doing it at one point, and it just never came to fruition. However, what I was thinking might make sense is because I have the 200th anniversary coming up, that it could be something that we could in the spring sort of incorporate into, the 200th anniversary. It would necessitate us coordinating with our various neighbors. I can't imagine we'd do it all in one day. Maybe in March or April we coordinate with the town of Hanover. We go out and, okay, here's one of the boundary marks, and Mary was able to look up from about 20 some odd years ago, the last time it was done. She does have in a file where all these boundaries should be. We just go out, and again, I believe the law says that 2 selectmen need to participate, but it could be all, and just go and take a look at them, and then technically, by law, you're supposed to put a marking on there of the year that you viewed it.
So why don't you put a list together of what bounds, and then, it could even be done.
No, but you have to coordinate with the abutting community.
Yeah.
So I tried to put this together in 2004. I sent letters out to everybody and said we want to do this, and
if it's a Hanover
it
line,
is
then it has to be
like
2 selectmen from Hanover,
herding
we-
cats. It is very difficult to
I thought
coordinate.
that we'd have to go out there and
No, not
identify
just,
the
I mean,
bonds.
if it was just up to the selectmen to go and do it, I would have had this done every 5 years like we're supposed to, but it has to be coordinated with each of your budding communities.
And you both
And
kind
does
of,
it
you
have to
both
be
kind of shake
selectmen on
hands.
both sides?
Yes.
Selectmen
Yes.
have to do it, and it would, usually the highway surveyor would go out, but in this day and age with GIS and everything, they're much easier to find. But I kid you not, there have been stories
Well, I'll
that we've
take
sent
East
these people
Bridgewater. I know
out
the
into the
chairman. I have
woods,
I have the
and
chairman
they
in
got
my phone.
lost. So retrieving them back has been a problem with some communities. So that's why I think it's just, 85 was the last time we did Halifax. 1997, we did it with Hanover. So I do have all the
And all
records
we have
of
to
where
do
they
is
should
go out and identify the bounds.
Just to say
on
that
both.
it's there and agree with the adjoining town that, yes, there's the bound, and it's technically, it's Mass General Law, Chapter 42, Section 2. And again, I have seen instances or read of instances where selectmen have walked the boundaries, walked the border. That is not the requirement and would probably be very difficult in a town like this. However, and in all honesty, like I said, I've never done it, and I've been in this line of work, both on this side of the table and your side of the table, for about 20 years. And I reached out to the area group of administrators and managers, and they also, no, we've really never done that, or we remember doing it 20 years or so ago. But it is a Mass General Law. But I thought, again, that it may be of particular interest because of the 200th anniversary coming up.
Great
that we
idea. Great
could kind
idea.
of,
Yeah.
do it that way. And again, as far as I can tell, it's no heavy lifting. We know where all the boundaries are. We'll coordinate, maybe once a month or every other month with one of the area towns and see if we can get 2 of the selectmen to come, and that'll knock off their requirement as well. So.
We'll come up with the perambulation subcommittee on the 200th anniversary. We're always looking to create subcommittees. Yes.
There you go.
So,
We want to do it when there are not stinging insects.
Yes.
Or greenhead flies and stuff
Yep.
like that. Trust
Good
me,
point.
I know.
Good point.
And we want to make sure Kenny is involved in all of them, so we have the biggest selectmen ready when we get into a fight with the town. The neighboring
Very
town. We want to make sure we win the boundary.
Never occurred to me we're going to get into fisticuffs.
He's saying I'm
We
strong.
can only hope.
Towns, okay.
So,
No, we should be able to get that done.
Yeah.
I know the chairman of the board in Halifax, and I know the chairman of the board in East Bridgewater. There's 2 towns I can make a call and then get somebody like West to,
Well,
go
I
with
mean,
me.
and you'll get the
right?
Frank Lyman and stuff
Yeah,
in Whitman.
I
and
think-
we'll-
I think we
yeah,
could
yeah,
probably-
I'm pretty familiar with all the areas.
I think if a selectman reaches out to another selectman, might be a little different.
And I think that'd probably be helpful.
You know?
Yes, I agree.
But now I want to try. That's
Sounds-
Oh,
So
the
on
gloves
that-
are off.
so.
on
Send,
that-
can you send us information on that, please?
Yeah, I've got it right here. I can send it to you. I've got I've got the general law, and actually I looked up a couple of newspaper articles where, a couple of towns, the last one that I see has done it in
Because just
Massachusetts.
because no
was
one does it
Auburn,
doesn't mean we
so-
should. So we should definitely.
And
let's
Mary,
try.
I would love to see where each of these markers
Oh, yeah, I'll send you
before
all my
we
data.
ever even
Yeah.
perambulate.
Right.
I mean,
I would go out
Great
into the
point.
woods and say, now we know where it is, so we're not
Yeah, a little-
wandering
yeah.
blind.
Do you know? Are they cement bounds like
Yeah.
the old?
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
of the.
yeah,
Okay.
you see them. You see
Oh,
them
yeah,
along the
absolutely. I
roadsides.
see them all the time.
Usually there's just the letter
Usually
of the
they're
town.
old. The cement bounds are
Yeah.
usually old. Around
And,
100
you'd
years.
see an H for
want
Hanson
women?
and an
Yeah.
EB
Yeah.
for East Bridgewater.
I'll get a flashlight and do it tonight when I go.
But-
It'll be
You
done.
better call
The
Whitman.
done will be-
Call
I'm
Whitman. You got to get them out there to
Yeah, you
witness
gotta
it.
get somebody from.
gonna
Whitman.
And it has to be certified. The people who participate, there's an actual document
Yeah.
that's certified by the town clerk that
This is
everybody
why it
signed
doesn't
off
get
on.
done. It's all this pomp and circumstance that has to.
Well,
It's a ceremony.
Yeah, send it.
It obviously made a lot of sense up until recently. Obviously, when the law went in, which was probably the 1700s or thereabouts, walking the boundaries,
Yeah.
people will probably take the concrete out or the granite out
Yes.
and use it for things.
Yep.
It's antiquated in so much as, we've got GIS and satellites and all of that at this point, but it's still on the books, and again, I just, in coordination with the 200th, kind of.
So what if we abut a town in like 3 different locations within a mile?
Oh,
They-
Pembroke, 32.
So every one of those have to be.
Oh, see how she didn't disclose that up front?
I don't see anybody signing up for Pembroke.
Mary's
Pretty
saying
sure
they don't
Pembroke
know
was
what they're in
32.
for.
Halifax, I think they had 4.
I'll do Halifax.
So
I got Halifax.
I will send you all the ones that I have on record, and
Okay.
they describe exactly where they are, and,
All right,
All
okay.
right, I think that'll be cool, though. That's a good idea, Mike.
So on that unusual note, that's the end of my
Okay,
report, Mr. Chairman.
excellent. The cell phone antenna is still, I know the school committee signed off.
Yeah.
on motion?
Yeah, that's still, it's actually going through the last bits of procedure with the cell company, and they will get back to
And at
us.
some point, they're gonna have to go to ZBA, right?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. They'll get back to us, and I'll set up a meeting with the ZBA,
All right.
and,
Yeah, just keep
I
us
think-
up on that.
I think that was the only, like I said, that's really the only last T that needs to be crossed because of
Okay.
the setback.
Okay, one-day liquor license. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Any word on a health agent on that search?
Good question.
No?
No, I think at the last meeting, we talked about possibly needing to train someone, because the people that are applying don't have the skills that are necessary.
I was wondering what you were looking at. Because I heard that door, I'm like, what's he looking at? He's calling you out.
No, it's quite serendipitous.
Okay, one-day liquor license. Amanda Reardon, Halifax, Sunday, March 17th, 12:30 to 4:30 for a birthday party.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. I would think that'd be a St. Patty's Day party, but that's just me.
Well, that's the night before.
Hanson Public Library Foundation, Friday, April 26th, 7 to 9 p.m., a free event.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor? 5-0, Mary. Okay, community reports. Can't speak tonight. 200th anniversary committee, Laura.
Nothing much to report. We've run into a little bit of a snag with one of our first fundraisers, but I feel hopeful that we'll overcome that obstacle. And we're meeting next Thursday, so more to be discussed on that.
Okay, thank you.
And can I just, and Mary
Absolutely.
is going to post the meeting because there are going to be 3 selectmen present.
Excellent. What's the date of that meeting again?
28th.
28th, okay.
I was gonna go.
Then there'll be 4
Then there'll be
Yeah,
4,
just
so
post-
you'll be all set.
Post
If it's
it.
posted, it's no problem.
Yep.
Then everybody could show. Ken, you could even come and join us.
I'll have to
Join
check
the
my
fun.
schedule.
Yeah.
Monpont Pond Committee.
Nothing, I'll take that off, that was.
Okay.
Carry.
Final Plymouth County Hospital Reuse Committee.
We met, when was it? Last Monday, just to kind of get back up and running. No new developments right at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Waquan School Reuse Committee.
We are meeting tomorrow evening, and we did have, I believe, one response to our RFP to see whether somebody could work with us to lease that property out, and we will hear from those people tomorrow night at our meeting.
Good, so you'll update us next
We
week.
will update you.
Hanson School Repair Committee.
Jim Hickey has decided he's no longer interested in this committee, and he has twisted West Bloss's arm into being on this committee.
The
so-
truth comes out.
That's not true.
I believe he graciously agreed to let you take it over.
Graciously.
Yes.
Jim Hickey was gracious. He always
Passing
is.
Yeah.
passing the baton, that's all.
That's all.
And Highway Building Committee, we haven't met. So does anybody else have anything in front of this board tonight? If not, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? 5-0. Good night. Thank you.